I got blown up by an RPG, but that wasn't really that bad. I was behind a wall.
Getting blown up by an RPG really isn't that bad.
No, I mean,
God damn it, you're a gangster.
I hate the way I said that. Well, I mean,
it sounded cool as
it is pretty cool. So
you sound Chuck Norris, bro. I like it.
I remember he flipped up and just like didn't even like barely aimed at us, and a projectile has a trajectory on it, like an arc to it. Mm-hmm. But in this case, it went out and went like it swung out wide. And then like came right at us. I remember looking at it in the smoke trail being like, oh my God, it's like a video game. And then my squad leader just like put his arm in front of my face and like just grabbed us down. And he actually put his body between the wall and the RPG. And when he did, like the impact from the round moved through the wall and then moved through us and like launched us back and knocked me clean the fuck out.
By now, you've probably heard of DeepSeek, who created AI that rivals ChatGPT at a fraction of the cost. It's now #1 on most of the app stores. But every conversation you have through their app gets stored on Chinese servers and are subject to Chinese censorship. If you want DeepSeek's power without sharing all of your conversations with Beijing, let me recommend my sponsor, Venice AI. Venice AI is a generative AI platform that is private and permissionless. They utilize leading open source AI models to deliver text code and image generation to your web browser. There's no downloads, no installations of anything. Since DeepSeek made their model open source, the folks at Venice AI were able to edit it and keep it private and remove any bias injection or censorship. But it's not just China that we need to worry about. ChatGPT literally has the former director of the NSA sitting on their board right now. Do you really think that all of our conversations are private with American AI companies? We all know that these AI companies program their AIs to only give certain kinds of answers, so I love that Venice AI doesn't spy on you or censor their AI. If you want to try Venice AI, you don't even need to create an account. You can just go to my link, venice.ai/JDDelay, and start chatting now. If you want access to a completely private and censorshipless DeepSeek model and other amazing features, go to venice.ai/JDDelay and use your code JDDelay for 20% off your pro plan. Start using AI the way it should be, completely private, unrestricted, and on your terms.
All right, everybody, welcome. We have a very special guest today. We have Zach, aka Veteran with a Sign. So good to have you here, brother. Thank you for taking your time out of your day to do this.
I'm so excited to be here. You're my new favorite person.
Oh, man. Thank you, bro. Big old heart hands,
Big
man.
hearts. Yeah. Big heart hands. Yeah.
So, bro, you have such an incredible story, and I think that it'll really mean a lot to my community. First off, thank you for your service. Thank you for your sacrifice. I've wanted to ask, and I met you with the Unsubscribe podcast guys, and I didn't get a chance to ask any of them, but I would like to ask veterans this. What is your opinion on civilians thanking you for your service? Does it seem performative and ook you out, or is it still something that you see as a sign of respect?
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I mean, each time it happens, I'm actually very grateful for it. The hard part is like I feel uncomfortable, but because like I think about like my service and the scale of like what I did compared to like others, like there are like many historical figures. People have done more than that. But like for me, it's just like I really do just appreciate that. It's just me being uncomfortable, being like I don't feel worthy, and that's what I'm always trying to work on. And then like the best way to respond to that, there's a Marine named Kyle Carpenter. He jumped on a grenade, lost an eye, he got really badly injured, got the Medal of Honor for it. And he always says, "You're worth it." So
that's awesome.
I try to mimic that. And
I think that you should just like, at least with me, like when I say it, just kick me in the balls, because if I don't take that and say thank you, then I'm not being authentic.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you appreciate my service here. And if I
That's
do
a new
anything
approach.
other than say thank you,
Yeah.
you know, it's just show of heart.
Well, no, it's just it's just like anything else. You like being seen, and it does mean a lot. I mean, it was hard, but it was also fun. I used to have a grenade launcher, so it was pretty cool.
Yeah. That's something I cannot say about myself. I've never had a grenade launcher. Homie, walk me through this.
Yeah.
When you joined the service, why did you join the service?
I mean, there's a lot of reasons. 9/11 was big for sure. It shaped a whole generation. I was in 8th grade when that happened. Objectively, when I look back on it, like realistically, I mean, you know, when you come from poor white people in general, poverty and the poverty that, you know, my family was in, there's never really like a clear path of like how to break it. Like I can be poor. I know how to be poor. I'm pretty good at it, actually. I remember like hearing someone made $20 an hour being like, that's crazy. Like that's the dream. But there's no like path forward of that. Like you don't have any like, you know, Cousin Warner went to college. Cousin Warner didn't go to college. Cousin Warner got caught cutting catalytic converters and did time up the road. Like that's what happened to Cousin Warner. Mm-hmm. Addiction's a real big thing, you know. It's like a crippling thing, to be honest.
Did you have struggles with addiction?
Oh yeah.
I know you know a little bit about my story and how far out there I got. By the grace of God, I never got as low as cutting catalytic converters. I would just steal the whole cars, but you know, I don't look down on people who suffer differently than me. But let's talk a little bit about your struggles with addiction. How did that start?
I mean, the long and short of it is when I was 10 years old, I just started experimenting with drugs.
10?
Yeah.
10 years old?
Yeah. Yeah, I grew up in Memphis, which is not like where we are here in Nashville.
Yeah.
It's a very, it sucks. That's all there is to it. 70% of the crime in the state comes from Memphis. They're in the top.
70% of the crime in the entire state of Tennessee comes from Memphis?
Yeah, you cross that river, things start to get different. Yeah.
Hot damn.
Yeah, it's wild.
So you had an early start with that. How did that work out with going into the service?
I just didn't tell him.
You just didn't tell him? So were you using the whole time?
I mean, yeah, I was. By that time when I was in high school, the main thing I was doing is I would literally just like drink until I couldn't see straight.
When you joined the service, is there a lot of drinking when you're in there? Mm-hmm. I know that like when people get time on leave and everything, you know what I'm saying? But like while you're actively there, I'm assuming not during boot camp.
No, I mean, you don't do any of that stuff during boot camp, but like it has, I mean, there's very much like a binge drinking culture is the right word. So but it's complicated though. So like objectively, it's weird being in the military, 18, 19 years old. You're not old enough to drink legally, but you can die for your country. And kids were. So like, I don't know, that kind of always kind of like was weird to me that you can enlist, you can go to Iraq and Afghanistan, you can get torn apart, but you don't let me catch you know, ordering, you know, a drink.
Yeah, it's wild.
It's weird when you like wait out like that.
It's a wild distinction, man.
Yeah.
Did you end up seeing combat?
You know, not long after enlisting, I ended up getting married to my wife. And not long after that, we ended up finding out we were pregnant with our first child. At that time, they're like, it's called a Marine Expeditionary Unit. So it's like a base, like a mobile base that responds to like floods and, you know, disaster relief all over the globe. They get assigned a certain area and they like support stuff there. And they're like, you're going to the Mediterranean. And I was like, okay, there's still a war going on, whatever, maybe it'll happen. And then in February of 2008, they came to us and they're like, no, you're going to Afghanistan. And like, she was pregnant as the Virgin Mary, you know, and like, I was like, I don't know what to do. So I was able to stay home and we had our first child here. Well, both of them were born here, but she was born here in March of 2008, and then 2 days later, I was in Afghanistan. It was really, really weird because at that time in Afghanistan, it was so built up. There was this place called the Boardwalk where, like, you know, Dick Cheney and Halliburton is, right? They had already had their hooks in there in this base called Kandahar Airfield. So my first meal in Afghanistan was at a Burger King.
What, dude?
Yeah. Like, I literally got off the plane and, like, there's a Burger King, a Tim Hortons. You ever heard of that?
Yeah.
A TGI Fridays would eventually be built, a Subway, and like all this stuff was there. And I was like, dude, what is this place? Yeah, Toby Keith was there. He came by and sang some songs.
That's cool, man.
He actually sang during an attack.
He sang during an attack
I'll tell the story. So what the Taliban would do is just disrupt, right? So the main thing they would do at that time, this base is huge, like it's monstrous. They would take rockets or mortars and they would put them in, a mortar tube is just a tube with a nail on the bottom and then it falls and ding, that's all it takes. But they would put ice in the tube, like set it up at night or in the daytime. So by the time that the ice melts or an old battery with a new battery, whatever, it completes a circuit, hits the thing, boom. And so we have the ability to measure seismic activity X amount of kilometers outside of the base. And we know that this signature means it's a rocket. This means it's a mortar. And so then air raid sirens would go off. So it gives you enough time to shelter in place. Well, 2008, Toby Keith's there, and this is red, white, and blue Toby Keith. This is, peak Americana Toby Keith. He's bigger than life, and he's there singing everything, and we're all out there just having a blast, and then the air raid sirens start going off. They're like, woo, 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 and like all of a sudden, a bunch of like Air Force guys who were like who were like his valet or whatever, his security or whatever, came out there and like dove on him. Because they don't want Toby Keith to get like injured or hurt in Afghanistan.
You can't have Toby Keith.
Can't have Toby Keith getting injured, but we're all a bunch of animals, so we start like throwing stuff at the stage when they take him off the stage. Like at his security detail, we're like, bring him back. Like we're just like losing our minds, like bring back Toby. It was a bunch of like weird cheers, and eventually he came back out like during the air raid sirens, and he sang this song called the Taliban song while the Taliban were actively attacking us.
What a G for that, bro.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
What a G for this. So he came back out in the danger zone.
Yeah, because it was like, ooh, seek shelter. And we're like, Toby Keith. Like, we're just, a bunch of monsters. I mean, we were safe, but like, it's just funny that that's probably the peak of my like most American moment of my life.
Yeah.
Being there in the center of the military industrial complex, like as Toby Keith's singing and the Taliban are attacking. It was
pretty
crazy.
American moment, right?
It's crazy, dog. Yeah.
So you're there for like 2 weeks, you said?
2 or 3 weeks. You got to get used to the weather, the elevation. It's hot. You're also thousands of feet higher than you're supposed to be.
People don't realize like breathing is different.
It sucked. Yeah. They also have like weird, like super weird stuff in their ecosystem in general that we don't have. Like if you get injured, so say if you were to get injured and you were to have lost a leg, they would end up having to cut you higher than your actual wound. Not by a lot, but by enough to account just for, there's something in their dirt, like a fungus, that it attaches to your skin, and it's gnarly. And I don't know exactly what it's called, but when we left there my first time, they burned all of our gear. We didn't have a way to decontaminate stuff.
I've watched enough sci-fi movies to know that's not somewhere I want to go.
No, you don't. Like just their dirt. I mean, I saw guys fish with poison, like, and they would drink the water that they fished with, and the poison was bleach, actually.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we thought it was anthrax, but because they would put anthrax in the food. But yeah, it's literally the exact same way, other than what we did to it, as the day God made that part of the world. Like it's the graveyard of empires. It breaks everyone. The end. And if there are giants, they are in Afghanistan. Which is a massive urban. Have you ever heard of that?
No, I haven't heard about giants in Afghanistan.
You know what the Nephilim are? Have you ever heard of Nephilim? Okay. So the belief is that the Nephilim reside in the mountains of Afghanistan. And in 2008, you talk to them and they say all sorts of crazy stuff to locals. And but they would say like, oh yeah, watch out at night. There's like vampires and giants.
We're talking like Book of Enoch type shit.
I'm dead serious about this.
Have you read the Book of Enoch?
No, I've not. But a good friend of mine has put me onto a lot of stuff.
It's weird as hell to me, some of the chapters they've taken out of the Bible. Like the Book of Enoch clearly talks about giants, and it talks about what I would assume is the Anunnaki. And
now we're talking.
Yeah.
Now we're talking. Yeah.
Like, but this is a legitimate book of the Bible that the church was just like at some point like, we're just going to take this and try to like get it dead. We're going to try to just make sure nobody ever sees this.
The Smithsonian, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah. So like as soon as I heard about it, I'm like, yes, this is, I'm reading this. Cause I've read the Bible multiple times through, whether in my childhood growing up in, churches and going to schools that were religious schools early on, or in, just sitting in solitary confinement for, 6 months at a time, another 4 months at a time. And the only thing they'll give you is a Bible. So you're like reading it like it's captivating. But the Book of Enoch, the shit they took out is the good shit. Yeah. They took the good shit out, bro. It's like the Twilight version of the Bible.
Really?
Yeah.
I need to read it.
Dude, super good read.
I don't know if you remember this, but remember when we were looking for bin Laden in Afghanistan? We said we couldn't see into the mountains because of how much material and like rare minerals there were. Because they like couldn't find it at the radar, but like those mountains like go across like all of Asia, basically. Yeah. I don't know. Might be something.
So were you ever in any sketchy situations in combat?
Oh yeah. It was the first tour was not so much. It wasn't really that bad as far as combat goes. We always had like really good fire superiority. We were able to maintain the battlefield superiority like all the time because I was with that Muse, so we had like a lot of really good assets. You know, air, artillery directly supporting us. Usually that stuff's like at like a regimental or battalion level, meaning they're supporting like multiple units, but ours are like directly in support of us. That was, you know, there were a few scary moments. Like I was like on a post once and I saw a guy. I looked out about a click, and there was a window, and I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. And then I saw you see like a guy moving, and I'm behind like a 240 machine gun. It shoots a 7.62, and I was like, that's weird. And then all of a sudden, like the glint of like an optic, or what I perceived to be an optic, like cut, and I was just like, what? And so I just like dropped down, and then like I felt dirt hit the back of my head, and I just pummeled that window until, you know, they found out it was a guy with, I don't know what type of rifle it was, but they're like, yeah, he was waiting to pick people off. And I was like, oh, we need to make better like security positions after that. That was like the one real scary moment there. I got blown up by an RPG, but that wasn't really that bad. I was behind a wall.
Getting blown up by an RPG really isn't that bad.
No, I mean,
God damn it, you're a gangster.
I hate the way I said that. Well, I mean,
it sounded cool as fuck, bro.
It is pretty cool. So
you sound Chuck Norris, bro. I like it.
So we were holding this position, and we were rearranging the battle space. Like first platoon was moving here, second platoon was moving there, and so during that time, like everything's dynamic. And this one spot, they've been getting shot at like all day. They were just getting hammered. They popped their heads up, just, you know. And so they're like, gray building bad. And I was like, okay, gray building bad. And so we held there for a while, and it was like, 2 or 3 hours. Like it was afternoon or something, like going into evening. And this guy like started turkey peeking his head out the door, you know. And every time he did, we would engage him because he had been shooting at us the whole time, so we knew who he was. And then finally, like, I don't know what he did, but he kicked open the door and came out, and he stepped outside. And when he did, he like, I remember he flipped up and just like didn't even, like, barely aimed at us. And a projectile has a trajectory on it, like an arc to it. Mm-hmm. But in this case, it went out and went like it swung out wide. And then like came right at us. I remember looking at it in the smoke trail being like, oh my God, it's like a video game. And then my squad leader just like put his arm in front of my face and like just grabbed us down. And he actually put his body between the wall and the RPG. And when he did, like the wall, like it like did like this, like it just like swung. It didn't swing, but it like the impact from the round moved through the wall and then moved through us and like launched us back and knocked me clean the fuck out. Wow. Like it just tossed me. And we didn't know the dirt walls they had there were like really, really strong. Thank God. But I woke up, I was bleeding from my head. My helmet had like cut into my scar and made it worse. And then like I was just like vomiting, and then like rounds are like skipping overhead, and we just started shooting him again. And my corpsman came up to me and he's like, Bell, if you fall asleep, you'll die. And I was just like, okay. And so like I had my gun and I'm like hooking on the wall, just it has like an arm on it. And I was just like, okay. And I'm just like engaging him. And we held that for 24 hours.
So I'm assuming you had a concussion from that.
Dude, I was gnarly. Like I was just like, It was really, really bad, and that was like the third one I had. And
like you were knocked unconscious, your body was so hit that you woke up puking.
I was just like,
but immediately back to shooting.
Yeah, the only thing that stopped me from puking was we hadn't eaten that day yet. We usually would eat it in the evening, and I just didn't have more to vomit was what it was. But whatever I had in my stomach, like as I was standing up, I just remember like crawling, and then just being like, and just like blowing chunks. And it also, the explosion like also hit like this big pile of manure they were drying out for like fire starter. They would like use it to start fires or stuff, or they would use it for different things. And it like liquefied some of it, so it was kind of like raining shit at the same time. It was just like, it was like, dude, I really should have like paid attention in high school. Like it was just, like, it was bad. But that was pretty much it after that. But the second tour. The second tour was hell on earth, like just absolute carnage. It was into a town called Marja. The president in 2009, he announced that there was going to be a troop surge in Afghanistan. And we found out about it like 30 minutes before he announced it at West Point. But they had told us during the workup, which is the cycle in between deployments, they're like, you're going to Iraq for 90 days. And I'm like, dude, Iraq? At this time, Iraq was cake. They had Wi-Fi. They literally had cake. They had cake, Wi-Fi. It was money.
So you sound like you were disappointed to find out you were going
Oh,
to
yeah.
Iraq.
We were disappointed. Well, because like...
You wanted back in the shit.
I didn't want to go. Well, I mean, you don't really want to go back. Once you get a taste of it, you're like, I'm fine. I'm fine. You know, it's just like anything else. Like it was what I craved as an infantryman. That was what I did. That was my job. But then when I had it and I'm a father, you know, I just want to be a dad. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we had also planned our second child, and my wife was pregnant with our second child at that time. She would go on to give birth. She would give birth a month into the second tour. So like I just wanted to be a dad at that point. But that one was hard. It was insanely hard.
So it was supposed to be cake?
It was supposed to be. So they're like, you'll do 90. We were going to shut down bases in Iraq. We were going to go to like multiple different bases and like retrograde is the term. So like pick out the farthest point, set up security, hold security there while contractors literally come in and just demolish and destroy stuff and then fall back to the next place. And that was what we were going to do for 90 days at the most. You know, that's what they told us. And they're like, even if we get extended, you get extended 90 days over there, it doesn't matter. You know, it literally doesn't matter at that time, at least. They had big bases, like cities. So it was cake. So we had started planning my second child and started doing all that stuff. And then it was not great. It was not great going to Marja. It was literally every single day was harder than the previous day. We did an insert, and every day was combat. Every single day we lost a bunch of guys, I mean it got to the point. So I went from being in charge of like 3 people. I was the first team leader. So a rifle squad has like 3 fire teams and a squad leader, and 3 of those make up a platoon of like 30 people. And so I was the first team leader, which meant that I was like second in command of this rifle squad. But we had lost so many casualties on a company level, they rearranged the entire company. And then I ended up becoming a squad leader the last 3 months we were there. And it was
last 3 months that you were
yeah,
there?
The last,
you were supposed
about
to be there
7
for
months.
90 days.
Well, we didn't go to Iraq. We ended up going to Afghanistan for 7 months straight. They changed all of it. When the president went to West Point, he's like, I would like to announce the troop surge in Afghanistan. I was like, fuck, dude. My wife is going to be so upset.
Yeah.
You know. And so we did that. And then so we were there for 7 months in this town called Marja. And it was rough. It was rough. So, you know.
So let's talk, if you're okay with it.
Go ahead.
About what that did mental health wise, because I know mental health is a part of your story.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you went in with any sort of mental health situation going on?
I mean, I'm definitely a child of abuse. I mean, that was part of it. My old man, when he wasn't drinking, he was beating the shit out of me. Mm-hmm. You know, as I've gotten older, I haven't come to a place where like I feel bad for him. No, he sucked. Like I'm not upset he's dead. Like I'm not. Anyone who says that is just full of shit, in my opinion. Like he was like. You know, we do this thing now where we make, like the new Lord of the Rings, they've like made the orcs.
The orcs have families.
Fuck that, dude. There is evil. There like is legitimate evil. And
somebody who beats the fuck out of their kid on a daily basis.
He literally
can qualify for evil.
Yeah, like I was a child and he would hit me with a closed fist. And so, you know, I knew what I didn't want to do and I knew what I didn't want to be. And it was like, I didn't want to be in this world. I didn't want to be with these people. I didn't want to be like that. You know, I want to give my daughters hugs, you know, not like, you know, make them hate everything about themselves. So when I think about like why one of the reasons I joined the military is because I wanted to be my own superhero, because no one was coming for me. That's why I've always liked comic books. There's justice. There's no justice in the real world. Not like that. No, not like that. Like you know, it takes people like you catching, you know, predators, right? And it shouldn't. Realistically, it shouldn't. But like, that's what has to happen in order, like prisons have a greater understanding of equality and justice than people outside of prisons, which is also like wild as a concept. Addiction was something I wasn't really worried about as much because the way I was using alcohol and that I would for the next until I stopped a few years ago was I was just trying to escape who I was. So that was purely my reason for any type of illicit substance was just trying to get outside. I think everyone does that, but like I really wanted to escape.
So like substances have catastrophic consequences.
Yeah.
And, you know, they really take us to bad places a lot of the time, especially if you're an addict. Mm-hmm. But they serve a purpose. They are a tool.
Yeah.
You know, pretty much everybody, the majority of people that I've worked with in recovery coaching, at treatment centers, most people have a co-occurring disorder, whether that be, you know, some undiagnosed mental health issue or a diagnosed mental health issue that, you know, some of them never got the meds. Some of them, the meds didn't work right and they were cycling them through different things. And self-medication is a real thing, but it's not generally for most people sustainable. You know, self-medicating with things like alcohol, you know, meth, cocaine, heroin, whatever it may be, it's not sustainable. And it causes bigger gaps and holes and consequences throughout the years. You know, I was able to go out in public into large crowds and groups with my CPTSD after I got out of prison. Just a couple drinks. Takes the edge off of it. I'm the life of the party. I'm the loudest one. Yeah. You know, if I was today sober, if I was in a large group of people with me back when I was drinking, I'd have hated that guy. He would have triggered the fuck out of me, bro. I'd have wanted to knock him the fuck out. But do you feel like when you came out, do you feel like your mental health issues did you feel like you had PTSD, CPTSD?
Oh dude, fuck yeah. I mean, the in between tours, I was like screaming in my sleep. Like, you know, when I got out of boot camp, I had like this weird thing where someone woke me up and my wife, and I just like didn't remember, but it wasn't trauma as much as it was like it was trauma, but like it was this response where I just woke up and I was like, where the fuck am I? Like I was like instantly like, you know, yes sir. And like, but I mean, the main thing was you just get used to living at like such a high level of human existence. I mean, it really does. I say this all the time, and you can stop me, but like the main difference between military and the prison is everyone has guns in the military, but like you're living off of cortisol, you're trading, like your currency is like commodities. You know, you have a plan for tomorrow, but you don't really know what it's going to be. And there's like too many factors, weird personalities, blah, 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 blah. And there's always like these outside forces. And like, it's interesting when I look at it, when I'm in the sun, my hair gets really, really blonde, like Slim Shady blonde. And so after my second tour, when I decided, I was like, I can't do this anymore. We just lost too much. And I saw this path where if I stay on it, this is going to affect my family forever. I just don't want to do it anymore. But the first thing I did is my wife's like, you know, what should we do? And I was like, let's take the girls to Disney World. Like, that's what I want to do. So about 30 days later, after I get home, like we're in Disney World and my hair is still blonde, like from the sun. That's how I know it was like no more than 30 days because like 30 days prior to that, I was like, we're the Taliban. But yeah. I'm like holding my daughters being like, look, it's Tinkerbell. But like, it was literally just like, I was like shook. Like I was like, all of a sudden I was running and then someone pulled me back. And, you know, what's so hard about drugs is that they're great. Like, I mean, I don't want to downplay it, but like nobody does drugs because they don't feel great. It's the stuff after that feels horrible, right? So when I went to my first VA appointment and they gave me hydrocodone, Ambien, Valium, Xanax, Percocets, like, oh brother, it was
damn. They lined you up,
brother. I was we call it the GWAT starter pack. Like it was literally a bag. So like they give you meds through like a door, actually like a prison. You know, like they open up the door and like you put your stuff in there. And like I came home with like a Piggly Wiggly bag of fun. And I was just like, awesome. And like, I felt great for like 6 months. And then I did not feel great.
Yeah, they stopped working. They stopped doing the same shit.
Yes.
And then by that time, you have slipped into a point of dependency.
Yeah. But my addiction's okay though. That's the thing. That was the biggest problem that I had and I have with veteran stuff is that like, the stuff I was going through, everyone like shipped that. Everyone co-signed that because like I'd been to war, I'd seen a lot of shit, I'd lost a lot of friends. And so they're like, it's okay that Zach does this. It was almost like they weren't endorsing it, but they were like, it's okay, he's been through a lot. When like ultimately it should have been like, this motherfucker needs help. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But that was the only solution. Like people talk about the opioid epidemic. There wasn't no epidemic in my house. It showed up every 30 days in my mailbox. You should just come to my mailbox. You would have been fine. Like literally, literally every 30 days. It was so crazy. People were like, it's so hard to get pills. I was like, it is not hard to get these at all. Like I literally just show up here and like, we're done.
Yeah. So, definitely just kind of endorsed more than, I mean, at the very least, looked the other way as to, it seems like they put you in harm's way and then their solution was to pacify you by putting you in harm's way again.
Yeah. Everyone wants to help veterans until it's time to help veterans.
Yeah.
That's always what I say. And like,
well, my dad came back from Vietnam so fucked up.
He
started protesting because of the things that he saw over there. He burned his uniform, he burned his medals. He still won't talk about it.
Did he tell you what it was like when he came home?
When he came home, he told me what it was like when he came home, but he won't talk about what happened over there.
Like they literally used to spit on him.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And then,
he got spit on. He got called a baby murderer. He looked me dead in the eyes and he said, son, I never murdered any kids. I never killed any fucking
It doesn't work
kids.
like that. Like there wasn't like a nursery I came across and was like, hello. Like it's not that. If anything, I've literally stopped and he probably stopped more baby murders than anything.
Yeah.
Like the stuff they did to their children in Afghanistan, they would wind up on your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
For real.
For sure.
Like it is the peak of evil. And they have weaponized everything around it to support that behavior. It is horrible the things they do to children over there. Mm-hmm. Horrible.
Let's get into the solution because I know that the things that you were living with when you came back had to have haunted you. They set you up straight to go into, a full-on addiction. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that this affected your family in huge ways. At what point did you decide it was enough and start doing something to turn that around?
I mean, there were a few moments where I would kind of hit bottom. I mean, that I thought was bottom, but it wasn't. I started losing friends in 2011, like literally the year I got out, started taking their life. And so I started working in nonprofit work. I worked at a company called Centerstone. You know Centerstone? I helped them build out their veterans program, Centerstone Military Services, but they didn't have that. And so a lot of stuff I did at that time was like auditing program partners. So I would like go do like audio therapy or like, brain therapy or like go out in the woods or whatever. And so I was slowly kind of like piecemealing myself back together. Like nothing's going to change you 100%, but what if this changes me 10 or 15 or whatever? Like I can slowly crawl there. And so I started doing that. And it really wasn't until probably 2016, 17, where I really started to sit down because I had all these goals, go to college. I went to college and I was like, okay, I want to go to grad school. I got into grad school and then I graduated and then I like ran out of goals. And so I was like, well, why don't I like try to do something different? And I was still kind of messing around with like booze and stuff, nothing crazy, but like a big part of my life at that time was like going to like social functions, especially in grad school for like networking. And I just got tired of it. And I didn't like the way I felt. I didn't like the way I acted. I didn't like who I was. And it's just for me. And I started doing more research on it. And, my brain doctor told me, like, if you've had brain injuries, your blood-brain barrier starts to get weak. Mm-hmm. So alcohol moves through it quicker and, all these other things. And I was like, okay, well, I need to like get on this path. And I started like looking into, treatment options and I just stopped drinking. Like that was like a thing. I just stopped drinking.
But they were giving you some pretty heavy pharmaceutical opioids.
Yeah. I had to wean off of that. Like the whole time I'm doing that, I'm
wean down on your own.
It was so scary, dude. It was so scary. Like at one point, like I was like looking at how many pills I was taking. Like it was off the charts, like double-digit amount of pills.
Well, yeah, because by the first few doses in one dose, you got to take more to start to keep that same feeling.
Oh, I was taking more. I was taking more.
Yeah.
And like, again, like, but it's such a weird thing where people were like actively endorsing your drug use. Like, cause no other drug user has that other than like, I think this community. And I've thought about that for a while because like literally people are like, it's okay. You've been through a lot. You know, it's Veterans Day. It's okay. And I couldn't do it.
Yeah. But the shit is straight up killing people.
It was killing me. It was killing my friends.
It's killing our veterans.
Oh,
we just force drugs on them. And not just the opioids, bro. Like benzos.
Benzos are fucking
such
gnarly.
a hard kick, bro. Like opioids won't kill you coming off of them. I mean, methadone can kill you coming off of it.
Yeah.
But benzos, you can die from coming off benzos, alcohol, and methadone, and things that we endorse with our vets is, you know, there's a huge alcohol culture, and pain pills. You know, we shove them on them, and benzos are huge, bro.
What all falls under benzos?
So like, you know, benzodiazepines are things like Xanax, Klonopins.
Yep.
You know, there's a whole array of them, but you know, the Xannies are really big.
They're delicious. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like you feel great until you don't, but you don't know when that's coming.
Yeah. And so like being diagnosed myself with CPTSD, ADHD.
Yeah.
You know, the things they try to push on me, like literally I had to doctor shop in Florida when I got into recovery for a doctor that wouldn't push, you know, amphetamines and benzodiazepines on me. Like
can you even take that stuff with like, can you even take that stuff now?
I mean, I could physically do it. Is it worth risking my recovery for?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I will raw dog ADHD and CPTSD until, you know, I have to get hospitalized before I let them put me on that shit.
Dude.
Because I'm terrified of the person that I become once I start doing those things. You would not sit at the same table as me and have a cordial conversation with me if I was using. You would be like, who is that fucking dude? Why am I in the same room with him? Because I'm quiet. I'm calculated.
Mm-hmm.
Me on meth is not like most people on meth. I'm not doing the pterodactyl like, go, 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 go. You know, like I'm quiet, I'm calculated, and I'm thinking about how to get all of the fucking money in the room into my pocket. You know, like it makes me a bad dude, bro.
Yeah.
I hate the
Give me some wasp spray. Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, and I never have the problem of not being able to get my drugs or not be able to get the money because I just turn into a prolific fucking scumbag criminal. So, you know, the idea for a doctor to be like, well, you know, we haven't tried Vyvanse on you. It's stronger than Adderall. Why the fuck would I want to go on any amphetamine? I like literally just sat here and told you you know, you can't give me any narcotics. It's a risk to my life.
Yeah.
I'm a heavy addict and I'm in recovery. And I had to doctor shop in Florida. Finally, I found the third doctor was like, I was like, look, I am allergic to narcotics. You will kill me if you give me narcotics. And he said, well, I wouldn't give you narcotics anyway. I don't like prescribing narcotics. I said, we're best friends now. He said, cool, because you got a shitload of problems we need to address. And I was like, cool. He's like, but not with narcotics.
That's so awesome that you found that. I mean, it's such a stark contrast to what I had in the VA at that time. It's since changed. Like it's like everybody woke up and was like, "Oh, we can't just give pills for everything." It's really condescending, to be honest. But like, you know, I have ADHD. I think any content creator has ADHD.
Yeah. And there's people that that thrive on their medication, and who knows? Maybe I would thrive on ADHD medication. Maybe I'm a healed enough human being at this point that like I'm not gonna go out and become a terrible person. It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
No, if I lose my recovery, everything that I have in life is built upon my recovery, bro.
Yeah.
I'll lose my wife. I'll lose my family. I'll lose any of my businesses, you know, the clothing company, the recovery coaching business, the content.
Those people that depend on you.
Everything that I love will go out the window if I fuck up my recovery. And the first thing that's going to happen is I'm going to let my kids and my wife down. I'm going to let my parents down. You know, I'm not doing it.
I got tired of it. And like in the back of my mind, while I'm going through all this stuff, I'm like, I have a bachelor's degree. I have a master's degree. I work in corporate healthcare. I've worked in nonprofit healthcare. I'm probably the most family-friendly version of all of my friends, and I'm having trouble. This is probably much worse for everyone else. Mm-hmm. And that's when I really started to shape out Veteran with a Sign too. The idea of that was going into the lockdown, going into 2020. because everyone was trying to figure out different things. And I've done creative writing before in different types of stuff. I've written for like Fox News, Huffington Post. I even got a few articles in the New York Times.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean, the secret is just to submit it. Like there's literally an editor there, like op-ed or wherever, and you just go, hey, I have an idea, and they go, send it to us. Nothing else was there. And so I just wanted to. I saw like people holding up cardboard and stuff, and I was like, that's kind of funny. It's kind of interesting. I'm trying to figure it out. Like, what does that mean? Who are they? What does that say? And stuff. And so I just started doing that. And, the first month or so was pretty rough. Guys talking about my body a lot. Mainly it was men. Yeah. Just dudes being like, his tattoos are dumb. His outfit's dumb. It's just, I wear the same thing on purpose. And I just kind of kept going until like May 1st. I uploaded a post and I was like, oh, we'll see what happens. And then I opened up my phone on May 1st and it was just like, notification after notification after notification. It just kind of took off like a rocket ship after that.
Yeah.
And it was just like, okay, what do I do with this? I'm like, oh, I'm going to talk about complicated issues. I'm going to talk about suicide. I'm going to talk about addiction. I'm going to talk about ways to get clean. I'm going to try to open source this whole community because like I've worked for it, in it, outside of it. Now I'm going to break it.
Really, really important stuff. The stuff that actually makes a difference in people's lives. So you guys know that you need to go sub to Veteran with a Sign.
Please.
But for some reason, YouTube seems really shy about putting that shit with any traction into the algorithm. It seems like a lot of those things, like anytime I mention anything about suicide.
Yeah,
awareness,
sorry. Yeah, cut that.
No,
yeah,
no.
I hate it. It bothers me to no end because like
that we can't shed to light on these issues and talk about solutions and talk about the problem that we fucking have that's killing our brothers and sisters without YouTube. Literally will send me we've put an 18 and over on this.
Yeah. It's not technically restricting it, but it's not technically not restricting it.
Yeah, nobody will see it. They bury it.
No,
they bury it. As soon as they put an 18 and over on it, the problem is...
They make it yellow.
The problem is with YouTube, if anything's not monetizable, they have no incentive to push that into the algorithm.
You are a businessman.
And they will bury it. And it's like, there's things that I want to talk about that are so important to me and to the community and on a global level that I know that they won't monetize, and I do it just because it's important, but I know they're going to bury it, dog. Like nobody's going to see it because they have no incentive to push it because they're not going to make ad revenue. So they'll just make sure that it goes nowhere.
And that's what sucks because like the only way to really speak truth to power is to like get in there. And I do understand that there is like, we don't want to like trauma bait. What is the right word I'm looking for? I can't. It's
traumabation is good.
I mean, like that. We just don't want to like over traumatize people or like use trauma to like justify our actions and things like that. Because here's what I think PTSD is to me. Right? PTSD to me is when you come to the realization that the memory of who you were is better than the reality that you are. And when you come to that realization, it's almost impossible not to hate yourself. When you remember JD before the trauma, before the pain, before the hurt, everything, you're like, that was...
I didn't even really know that little dude, bro.
You know what I'm saying?
Mine started when I was 6 years old, and I think a lot of people have that. I think for me, where my PTSD came in was the constant hypervigilance, bro. Like the constant hypervigilance. And you touched on that. A lot of it's the same in prison as it is.
It's just war. Yeah, it's war. It's war.
It's war. And, the guns and RPGs and all that shit clearly is way more sketchy than worrying about somebody slitting your throat in your sleep.
I don't know. I never had that.
Or while you're sitting on the toilet taking a shit and you have to have 1 foot out of your pants because someone could come in with a lawnmower blade and start hacking at you. Yeah, bro. You never want to sit on the toilet and be vulnerable, bro, because you don't have like doors you can lock or any shit like that.
I never even thought about that.
You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of the time you'll be in a dorm and there's no doors on the toilet, so you're sitting there and people can see you. You have to have a foot out of the pants so you can jump up and defend yourself, because a lot, prison is lowest common denominator shit, bro. They're gonna come after you when you're vulnerable. I was at a penitentiary where there's bars, on the doors, and your bunks are right there. So, a lot of people don't want to sleep with their face right next to the toilet because it's a little bit gross. And, you know, if your cellie jumps down off the top bunk and is taking a piss in the middle of the night, that's A, it's either going to wake you up, or B, you're going to get your face in the piss mist radius. It's just gross, right? But if you have your head next to the bars, anybody can reach in and slit your throat while you're asleep or start stabbing you in the neck. And, you know, you want to keep your neck safe. The neck's a part of your body that you really want to keep safe. When sketchy shit's going down, they give you jean jackets with, you know, an insulated liner. You cut that liner and you put magazines down in there to give you, just to cover your vital organs as much as you can. You know, when you're going to the chow hall, that's when shit usually pops off, if it's going to pop off on a major level. And if someone comes in and starts trying to stab you, if you've got some magazines lining, you've got a much better chance of not getting hit in a vital organ.
Yeah, that's way harder than Afghanistan.
I don't know, bro. I don't know. You got blown up, dog.
Yeah,
and you were like, it wasn't that bad.
I lived.
If
like, that's the thing.
Up, I would have complained. I'd be here getting blown up sucks. Don't do it.
Well, I don't think I've ever told this story publicly, but we were actually leaving there, and so it was an RPG day, so they were really trying to mess us up. But an RPG at the tip of it is a cap. And that cap has to have a certain amount of force before it explodes or does like an airburst. I mean, there's things you can do to make it do an airburst, but like it has to hit that. We were retrograding. There was a guy in a Humvee, and the RPG went through the door, somehow didn't explode, and it had landed like in his hip right there, like in his butt cheek, like lodged it, and it was sticking out of the door, and he was screaming at the top of his lungs as they were like, calm down. He's like, no, there's an RPG in my ass. Like, he was just screaming. So I was like, that's worse. Like, there's way worse.
Yeah.
But like what you just described, insanely gnarly.
Yeah,
like,
and it's just constant. It's 24 hours a day.
That's where I see like the similarities where you're like, oh, will the ground explode? Will this happen? Like, hypervigilance is a thing. It's a mode that I can't get out of.
I can't either, bro.
Yeah.
Especially and in public, bro. Like,
dude, crowds are the scariest thing in the world to me.
I was super blessed. You know, Bunny put us on the guest list for the Jelly Roll show, and I met so many amazing people. Like, apparently there's a huge part of Jelly Roll's demographic that is also my demographic.
Yeah.
And I love meeting people, but there was just so many people lined up to meet me, and I'm like hugging people, taking pictures with people, handing out merch, free merch and stuff everywhere I go at this show. But about halfway through the night, we crossed the line to where people were really drunk. Like really drunk.
And
then they start touching you.
They want to have business conversations too.
Like I know that people that watch me, if you're a part of this community, you know that I'm from prison and I'm halfway stupid and I got PTSD. So don't let them drinks get you coming up from behind, grabbing me in public like, hey JD, because it makes me want to turn around and immediately fight. And I don't want to hit nobody, bro. We had to leave a little bit early because, you know, it was people with good intentions and they're just celebrating and having a good time. And I can't enter into that anymore because of the line that I crossed with CPTSD. And it sucks. It's not their problem. It's my problem to navigate my own fucking triggers.
Yeah.
It's not on any of them people with good intentions celebrating and having a good time. So we just had to excuse ourselves, you know, and then I was going to get to meet Jason. I was really stoked. You know, that was, we had that lined up and we had to leave early. And you know, I regret that. That's shit that's consequences of my life and the stupid shit that I put myself through. I put myself in prison. Nobody else did that. I committed my crimes. I did that dumb shit. I made it worse by joining a gang. You know what I'm saying? So I take accountability for all of it. But, you know, I have to make life adjustments. There's certain shit that I don't get to do anymore. And I know that if I just had 2-3 drinks, I'd be fine. But I know where that leads for me.
Same.
Yeah.
The exact same. Like I have so much in my life right now. Like personally, it's overwhelming. Like, you know, the friendships I have, the relationship I have with my daughters, like it's, you know, my wife, I'm so scared. I'm so scared that I'll wake up, like I'll like hit my head on this and I'll wake up and I'll be in a boardroom, like giving a presentation and I have a tie on and I'll be like, oh no, it was all just a dream. It was all just a dream. Because like when I look at what I do now, I think like how incredibly blessed I am to be surrounded by people who are trying to do something good for the people around them. And like, that's really a gift. And I don't want to jeopardize that, but that being said, when I'm in a crowd and like people are like starting to do that thing where, you know, I'm grateful for it and I know you are too, but it starts to feel like it's like an instinct that I have to suppress of being like, they're here, they like you, they're here, they like you. It's okay.
Yeah.
But
just don't touch me from behind.
Yeah, don't touch me from behind.
I might think you're Diddy, bro. I might think somebody's trying to Diddy me.
Yeah, I would never. And so when people are like, hey, and I'm just like, The only people who are allowed to touch me from behind are like fat electrician Nick, but that's because he's trying to put me in a choke. And that's complete. But I know Nick's trying to put me in a choke because I saw him over here. Like there's like exceptions, but like,
that's one man that if he gave me his rugged embrace from behind, I'd let that slide.
Yeah,
Nick.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
You have to act like you're like, oh no, stop. You gotta fight
Give
it.
a little bit of playful fight back. So let the people know exactly what it is that you're doing and what you're involved in today.
Okay, so what I do now is I have Veteran with a Sign. It's it's kind of it is a meme page, but it's where I try to get messages out there for veterans, military, and anyone going through mental health issues in particular. I'm really trying to destigmatize and break all the associations of gals, whoever talking about what they're going through. And I've recently started the After Action podcast, which is an expansion of that, and I've had a lot of incredible guests. On there, Tyler Vargas Andrews, who survived the bombing in Afghanistan during the withdrawal. He's one of the people. JD DeLay is going to be on there shortly.
Thank you for that.
Oh, dude, thank you, brother. Michael Colazzo, one of the cops who stopped the incident here at the Covenant School. He was one of the cops that responded. And different people who've been able to share their perspective of me because, the page is kind of like a starter point for me. And I was really hesitant about YouTube because YouTube's like 10x what every other platform is. It's the world. And it's like, how do I tell stories? How do I get out there? And I see things like what you're doing, and you're doing it with like this fervency and this advocacy where I'm like, I need to be like that for my community. Be like, hey, dude, it's okay to stop drinking or doing this stuff. Figure it out. Work on you. Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself for your loved ones. They want you, and be here because those things, those substances, they're poison and they trick you. They trick you into thinking you're good. They trick you into thinking you're okay when you're not. You need to fight back and push on that. So
did you go through any like therapy, counseling?
Oh, dude, I'm balls deep in therapy. Like, yes. I don't know. I'm like, yes. I've done it. I've like literally done so many versions of it. I'm trying to actually work through a new thing now with my counselor. I've done a group therapy. I've done recovery stuff. I've like literally done it all. Like, the one thing I'm good at is I will seek out a subject matter expert to find where my weaknesses are. It's the number one thing I'm good at. And I know I'll be like, I don't know how to do that. Do you know how to do that? And you'll be like, yeah. And then I'll take your advice. Cause like, it's fucking hard. Like life is hard. And especially when you don't have any role models. I have no role models growing up as a child other than like comic books and like superhero movies. So I had to make my own, How do I be a good husband? How do I be a good father? How do I be a good parent? I have none of that. And, and then at the same time, how do I work through like how I feel about myself, like how I justify my actions, how, my reactions to different people, places, and things. And so it takes time, but like I therapy kind of sucks as I'm just kind of losing, if that makes sense. Like you're like, oh, I'm losing in the sense that I'm learning every time that I don't know what I'm doing, but it gets better with time. And like,
I don't think that therapy has a final destination, brother. I think it's just about improving that inner relationship with yourself so that it doesn't kill you anymore, and B, it doesn't bleed out onto the people that you love who don't deserve it. You know what I'm saying?
That's why I like you so much. Yeah. Everything in my life is like, we have to win or lose.
I think that you're right where you need to be, bro. You're right on time. Everybody who's trying, everybody who's putting in their honest effort and trying to become their best self, bro. Like, yeah, sure, we're all going to be a better person tomorrow than we are today. But like, we're where we're supposed to be in that process. But I think that men with voices like you who are speaking out and saying, hey, it's okay to not know, bro. Yeah. It's okay to need help. And it's okay to get that therapy, get that recovery treatment, get whatever it takes to get yourself through to being a better self tomorrow and the day after that. Like, cause it's so stigmatized for men, especially men that are fucking balls to the wall, combat veterans, dudes that are convicts, those of us who are on these fringes. It's so stigmatized for us to be able to ask for help. well, motherfucker, I don't know about anybody else. I needed help.
I need help.
I was killing myself, bro.
Yeah.
I was killing myself and I was hurting everyone around me. And I knew that I couldn't do it myself. And I don't take any shame in the fact that I needed help. So hearing other important voices, like you going through what you went through was way more important than what I went through. What you did was honorable. What you did actually meant something. So I appreciate you coming on here and sharing your voice with us, man. Thank you so much for taking the time.
You honor me. Thank you so much. This is incredible.
Huge love and respect, man. Everybody go. Veteran with a sign. We're going to leave a description down there in the link. And everybody, thank you for hanging out with us today. One love. Till the next one. Be good or be good at.